for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty
liberty, and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Sherry, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Here.
Commissioner Kraut,
Present.
Commissioner Krajewski,
Present.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Here.
and Mayor Henderson.
I am here, and we have Mary Palmer as our attendee monitor because Cinda has moved into a different square.
Yeah, do we know how many attendees we have on?
We have 31.
31.
Okay,
Excuse me, I'm the monitor.
Okay. Under old business, it looks like we have nothing. But under new business, we have 2 items. The first one is going to be the discussion for proposed meeting policies and procedures. And that is Mary Palmer's doing. We don't usually put things on the agenda unless one of us requested, but Mary asked for this one a while ago, actually.
Yes, actually, I started looking with other cities on their policies and procedures for their meetings. Our current one only states our days and times of our meetings. And so I have it before you, a proposed resolution to add other policies and procedures for the meetings to be, to conduct the meetings by.
And you got all of this information from other cities, you kind of mashed them all together, or you kind of basically followed somebody else's? Or
I went through for basically from one of the Bel Airs, but I did input some from other cities.
It doesn't look a whole lot different than what we did before. Now it's just in writing, kind of? Okay.
Correct. It took me a while. I started reaching out, I think at the end of December, 1st of January, and just now getting it around to you all.
well, Mary, thank you very much for putting this together. I'm not trying to shortchange any discussion, but I would move that we accept this.
Well, it will go on to, if you are pleased with it, or you want to change anything, I'll have it on the next
consensus.
meeting.
Yes.
For a, actual, put a resolution number on it for you all to accept.
So we're just basically getting a consensus this evening. And
Correct.
to see if there's any changes that you guys want to
Suggest-
make, or, yeah.
So we haven't had this at all before.
We've had verbally, we've always had the policy and procedure of the times and the days in a resolution, but the other, what's in there, and some of it, is more than what we've had before. So, but now it's in writing, yes,
Okay,
and it will be approved by resolution.
okay.
I have a question on rule number 3. With special meetings, if I understand this correctly, we can have at least a 12-hour notice for a special meeting, but a vote cannot be taken on items on a special meeting agenda unless it's been given 3 days in advance. Is that correct? So if we had a special meeting with less than 3 days in advance, there could not be a vote taken on that.
Fortunately, I do not have that in front of me. I might have mistyped something. So it sounds to me like we're saying in there, it says that what you're saying is we can notice it 3 days or 12 hours in advance of the meeting, but no vote shall be taken.
What
Yeah.
it says.
No, what?
A separate sentence. First, it talks about the 12-hour written or verbal notice. And then it says, notice of such special meeting shall be provided to the press. At such special meetings, the Board of Commissioners shall not be restricted to the discussion of only these items on the agenda. However, the commission votes can only be taken at a special meeting on items which have been scheduled and listed on the agenda at least 3 days in advance of such special meeting.
Okay, so it sounds to me like I just need to take the 3 days out.
And make it the 12 hours.
No, I think that what that applies to, Mary, and you can read this over. It's a question of, we can hold a special meeting and we notice that. And we tell residents and the public, just exactly what that agenda is, okay? What this document says, it doesn't preclude us from raising or discussing other issues that were not listed on that agenda, but we can't take action on those items
Right,
unless it was on the original agenda and it was given the proper 3-day notice. That's the same requirement that we have for any commission meeting. So
You're
that,
right.
all that is
you're right. Thank you.
Okay,
appropriate.
okay.
So we can't vote on something that came up at the last minute.
Right.
You can't do
Not a
that
special
in
meeting.
a commission meeting, either in a regular
I
meeting.
think you can in a commission meeting,
You do.
something was to come up, but not in a special meeting. But we can clarify that, Vice Mayor.
I'd like that clarified one way or another.
Yes, I'll get with the attorney.
And the emergency meetings, you can only discuss what is on that agenda, correct?
Correct. Mhm.
And there's no public comment on those, both of those, the special meeting or the emergency meeting,
No.
right? Right.
Does it say that?
Mhm.
Yes.
So if you all are, okay, then I'll put it on the regular agenda for approval by vote.
What, I'm sorry, where does it talk about the no public comments on special meetings or emergency meetings?
It's the last sentence on rule number 3A and B. Where it says,
I see, okay, thank you.
so we have I see we have a hand raised, then it
Yeah,
went down. I don't know what happened to it.
well, I can watch for that. I just didn't know
Okay.
if you all were ready for any public comment or,
Does the commission have any further discussion or questions or? Nope. Okay, I guess, Mary, we do have a hand raised.
we do have a hand raised. So just attendees, you'll have 3 minutes to make a statement on this subject. Once I allow you to talk, if you will please state your name and your address, and you will have 3 minutes. Christy, if you would go ahead, Christy.
I just wondered why you don't want public comment on emergency or special meetings.
It's always
They
been
used to have public comment, and it just seems like you're, making rules to make sure the public can't have input.
Mary?
That is something that if the commission want to discuss, normally an emergency meeting is something that needs to be done and over with, that's it. Special meetings, as far as public comment goes, we don't have the public comment area. You're not saying that they can't comment as they are now. We don't have public comments on workshop meetings either. Like we do on the regular meetings, you have at the end of the agenda, public comments.
Yes,
So-
but I was told by the mayor that they would not take public comment on special meetings.
I thought it was always that way.
No, it wasn't.
Well, no, we have done that, and if it was a quasi judicial hearing, they did not need to take public comments, but for what this policy is now, we already have a procedure for quasi judicial hearings. What this is, no public comments are on the workshop as a listed item or the special meetings or the emergency meetings. You are having public comment right now, and we're at a workshop meeting, but on the agenda, you do not see a public comment area. I think the commission always.
So the next time you have a policy, are you going to make sure that you don't have public comment on workshop meetings?
Oh, I
If that's what
think,
they- If that's what they want, that's up to them.
Now, what this says, Christy, is that just as we do with our commission meetings and workshop meetings, we allow people to comment on a particular agenda item as we are addressing that agenda item. What there is not is just some open period following the conduct of business for just general comments about anything under the sun, anything that a resident wants to bring up. We prefer that that's done at a regular commission meeting.
I understand that, but I was told when I asked why there were not public comments at the special meeting on January 19th, I was told we don't have public comments.
Oh, sorry, Christy, the 3 minutes is up. Thank you for your
I
comment.
didn't speak for 3 minutes.
I have my timer on.
You did, but you didn't stop the timer when other people were talking.
We shouldn't have allowed question answer back and forth. Just let her talk for her 3 minutes and then turn it back over to the commission.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Okay, at this time, I see no one else's hands raised.
Okay,
Can I just go back and say, since I've been here, which has only been a year, at special meetings, as I understood it, there aren't public comments. That's what I understood. That, and I didn't know about it. I've never experienced an emergency meeting, but a special meeting, I understood there were no public comments allowed. For whatever reason.
I think Vice Mayor Robinson explained it perfectly, actually.
Did you
Say it again. Can you repeat that, Mike?
What I said is the way I read this and understood it was that it allowed for public to respond or to comment about items that are on the agenda as that agenda item is discussed. But at the conclusion of the meeting, there is no general public comment period for residents or anyone to speak on any other topic.
Right, exactly, any item.
Is that what the commission wants?
You're muted, Jenny.
I don't think that's good.
You don't think it's clear?
No. You either allow public comments or you don't. And in the past, as I understood it, they weren't part of, public comments were not part of special meetings.
I
So we're
think
just, what this effort is, and I'll go to Mary's defense on this, is that we've been all over the board, even since I've been on the commission for the past, 3 years. And it's to codify what our procedures should be. And that way we're not changing up those procedures one meeting versus the next. It will be in writing. So my question to the commission is what I articulated as my understanding of this policy, what the commission wants. And if it's what you want, I think Mary, we can work with the attorneys to add some language to allow people to comment on an agenda item, but not the general public comment. Explain it a little more
Right.
clearly, if that's what the
That's fine.
commission desires. But the commission can, I suppose, decide that at special meetings and emergency meetings, we don't want to entertain any comment from the public.
Senator, what were you going to say?
Well, I think I want to be clear on this. When whatever topics are on the agenda, after those topics are discussed by the commission, there is a chance for the public to make a comment on those items.
Correct.
What this is avoiding is for a special meeting or an emergency meeting not to add at the end of the meeting the opportunity for the public to bring up any issue to discuss, that this special meeting is
Oh,
out of the routine. It's something for a special purpose, is to be, it's specific discussion points, and then it concludes. It doesn't continue on for additional public comment. The
Correct.
additional public comment that's actually scheduled at the end of a meeting should occur at regularly scheduled events like commission meetings and workshops.
Well,
Or
right,
just
if you
commission
look
meeting.
if you look at past workshop agendas and past special meeting agendas, you don't have the public comment at the bottom of the agendas as you do in your regular meetings.
So it's not limiting public comment on,
It's not limiting
issues that are
public
being
comment at
discussed.
all, no.
it's just not
public
providing
comment.
a time for the general public to just bring up any issue for
Correct.
it to discuss. I mean,
Correct.
that's something that the public should bring forward at a regularly scheduled commission meeting.
Correct,
And that probably is just to allow the public always to have every month an opportunity to speak about an issue, but
Mhm.
not to bring up and speak about an issue when there are special or urgent meetings.
mhm,
So to me, it sounds reasonable.
mhm.
but, okay, I just want to clarify. So saying that public comments will not be placed on these agendas means that if there's a public comment to be made, that,
It's
you
a little
know,
unclear. Yeah, that's where Mary can work with
Well,
the
I'll
wording.
go ahead and
Yeah.
get that cleared up with the attorney, but the
way,
way I'm understanding it is they'll be able, residents will have a chance to comment after the commission has spoken at workshop meetings and at special meetings on the item, but there will not be a public comment area as there is listed on the regular agendas.
A time for
I thought,
public.
right, it's
Yeah,
public
yeah.
comment area, right.
but it sounds like what Vice Mayor Robinson was saying before is that people could comment,
Yeah,
public comments would be accepted.
It's public
is-
comment as a section of the agenda. I'm sorry, Mike.
Right, it is, they have an opportunity to comment about a specific agenda item, but not some general comment. So it just needs some clarification in language. So what I'm looking for is to make sure that we have a consensus, and it sounds like Cinda agrees with that, at least, that the public will have the opportunity to comment about an agenda item, but they will not have an opportunity to raise non-agenda topics in a general open comment period.
correct.
And is that what other commissioners want?
No, I thought that that we were just clarifying that public comments, my understanding was public comments were not allowed, I guess, at special meetings or emergency meetings. That was my understanding before. So now either we're saying, oh yeah, the public can comment like as each agenda item comes up. Does that mean that at the end of agenda item number 1 at special meeting, we open it up for public comment, even though that's not stated? And then agenda item number 2 at a special meeting, and then we open it up for public comment?
And I think this is probably why Mary started even researching this, because there has been a lot of, miscommunication and
Yeah,
misunderstandings.
So again, the written document needs some clarification.
Yeah.
I just want to help Mary understand that it is the desire of the commission, if it is, that we allow comment about agenda topics and we don't allow general comments at special meetings and emergency meetings. If that's what folks, if we're in consensus, then Mary can work on that. But if people have a different opinion, don't want any comment at all on agenda items, then speak your mind.
If I may, I'd like to speak on this. I'm in favor of getting any input from our residents at any time, pretty much. But I can also understand and be sympathetic to the fact that if we have agenda items, they're published everybody knows what's going to be discussed at that particular meeting. And that should be sort of the, if you will, the agenda as well as the discussion. Should somehow there be an entertainment of something that's not on the agenda, and then somehow it gets into an open discussion, I don't think that's necessarily fair then for potential residents or residents who might have potential comments on something that wasn't on the agenda that now all of a sudden evolves into an agenda item. So I think that's what we're trying to come up with here as far as how we want to conduct and what the decorum of the meeting should be. I don't think in any way, shape, or form that what we're trying to do here, it should in any way, shape, or form misconstrued or misrepresented, that the commission is looking to not hear from our constituents. At least that's my feeling.
And I think that's what Vice Mayor Robinson's saying.
I agree with Mike, and that's the way I interpret it.
Yes.
So I'm also, Mike, supporting your interpretation of this.
All public comments will be allowed at special meetings and emergency meetings.
After the commission has discussed an item, like you are now, this is an item on the agenda, the commission discussed, we had a resident comment, you're back to discussion again. So you're letting residents speak on the agenda item. But on a special meeting agenda and the workshop agenda, there is not a time period where it says public comments, so they can speak on anything, any other than what's on the agenda.
Okay,
So, but we'll get that wording clarified.
and that was not clear before for
No.
special meetings.
So,
Right.
right. Mhm.
Okay,
Now, Christy does have her hand up again. Are you allowing her to speak again?
Oh, she put it down.
Oh, she put it down. Okay.
looks like
I think it was still just up.
Okay. Alrighty. So no other hands are up to speak.
Okay, so Cinda,
Yes.
consensus to move
Oh.
forward? Sorry.
Yes, I agree with the, this discussion and also the resolution of making a resolution for meetings for, so I'm on board with it.
Okay,
Is that what you were asking?
pretty much.
Okay.
So Commissioner Blackburn, yes, you're good with it. I know Commissioner Krajewski said he was good with it on board, so we will move forward just with Mary, make sure we get some of that clarification because it tends to be a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not out.
All right, so we're moving on to discussion number 2, which is proposed dog park at Del Bello. Before we start the discussion, I would like to say in the 7 years that I've been on the commission, I have never seen so much passion and so much complete opposite opinions that are so equal that it's almost impossible to decipher what the right answer is. So I have lost a lot of sleep over this. And I've had a lot of discussion with residents, phone, text, email, you name it. It's just not clear to me. I almost feel like, not almost, I do feel like we need to put it back to the taxpayers and ask them what they want. Let them actually vote on it. Let us put it on a ballot for them to vote. Let the people speak. It's exactly what they should do because I can't tell what they want from the emails and the text and the phone calls because they're so equally divided. Just so passionate and so equal. It just feels like to give it back to the people to decide is the right thing to do for them. It's a lot of money that we're talking about. Do they want their taxpayer money spent that way? Do they want the dog park? Don't they want the dog park? You know, it's hard to represent the feelings of the people when you don't truly know what that means and what that is because it's so divided. It was easier when a long time ago, 8 years ago or 9 years ago, it was a skateboard park. There was no opposition except for 2, I think, and everybody was opposed other than that. So that was an easy thing for the commission to decide. This is probably one of the hardest decisions I've ever seen since I've been on here or lived here for sure. Mary, do you remember one quite like this?
No,
So,
I think it was with RVs. I do take that back because it was something about RVs, but I can't quite
Well,
remember it all.
it's definitely not been since I've been here. And
Yeah, oh no, not when you were here.
so because I've been thinking about this and having all this discussion with the different residents and whatnot, I asked Mary to find out if we could put it on a ballot. And we don't want to do a special election because that's very, very costly, but there is a municipal election, I believe, in November. So it could be placed on that November ballot for our Redington Shores residents to be able to speak. And there's the decision, you know? So
I don't-
that's my thought. I mean, just give it back to the people. It's their money.
So
I
so
thought-
here's,
Wait, my thoughts are that if you see 50-50, and that means that you've been getting comments from residents that you haven't been sharing with the rest of the commission. Because so far I've been tracking all of the emails from the folks at Redington Towers and elsewhere. The little written
Yeah,
slips.
they're not, it's not just emails there. I've had physical conversations with people via telephone, in person, and
But
I
you
can't talk to you about it. I can't really talk to you about that.
Okay, but you could have submitted, like I've been keeping track. It could have been, I mean, how do I know it's 50-50?
Well,
I've got, wait a second. The figures that we've been tracking are something like 128.4, pro dog park, wait a minute, versus 34 again.
and I understand that, Jenny, but a lot of those are not residents. Some of those are visitors, and they
No,
don't.
that's not counting. No. That's excluding those.
Well, I just feel like a true blue vote is a voice of the people, and that's I think what is fair right now.
Mary Beth, if I may, Jenny, if I could speak on this too.
Go ahead.
You said this is a lot of money for the town. I don't think we've gotten to the point yet where we know how much money the town is going to spend. I think at the last time this was discussed, and I will tell you, in my district, overwhelmingly, the people that actually put in their voices and are included in Jenny's count, overwhelmingly from my district, which is right around the corner from where this dog park is being proposed. And the majority of those people have also stated their checkbook is out. So let's be clear here that there's more than just monies to be spent or thinking that it's only going to be $100,000 out of the taxpayer's pocket to build this thing. I don't think we've gotten to that point yet. And the resolution, as it's going to be voted on, I think there needs to be a lot more discussion about what's going to be included in that, not just an up or down about a dog park. There needs to be a full detailed plan and explanation about what it is we're going to build, how it's going to be maintained, and where the funds are going to be coming from. So I don't think we're anywhere near yet, and I would have a tendency to disagree that, at least when it comes to my district. And also I was in District 2 last week, and there was an overwhelming number of people out on the street that I had met for the first time walking their dogs. Some of them didn't even know that this was being proposed. And when they did find out about it, they were in favor of it 100% and also said their checkbooks are out. So there are a number of things that have been discussed here. And I will say, quite honestly, as it's been presented so far in a lot of these emails, I am very concerned, because I carefully researched this, about the aura of mendacity that has permutated regarding this subject.
well, may I?
Of course.
May I? Okay. So I appreciate everybody's enthusiasm, both for and against this proposal. And I agree with Commissioner Krajewski on this point. It's a long way from any finalization. And as I said at the last meeting when this was brought up, I do believe whether it is $100,000 or whether it is $10,000 that the town would spend on this, this is a proposal that will have financial impact on the town and therefore on the tax payers. That's what I mean. And we must consider it alongside every other priority and the financial condition of the town. It needs to be addressed as part of the budgeting process. Sure, we respond to emergencies and unforeseen events during the year, but I think we've got to get away from this practice of throwing money at something just because it feels good at the moment. We need to discipline ourselves to adhere to sound financial and budgeting practices. And as far as that budget goes, I shared with all of you that the Florida League of Cities is projecting that just because of COVID, there will be a $3.9 billion tax bite to municipalities over the next 3 years. And we're already anticipating increases in the police, fire, and EMS budget. So again, I think it's important that we look at this as part of that process. Other districts may be in favor, or those that you've talked to are in favor. I can tell you that my district is soundly opposed to it. And that is not just those people in the towers who have sent email messages, because I, like the mayor, have talked with an awful lot of people as well. We have to carefully consider this because, after all, this is a proposal that will serve a portion of the town, a special interest group, if you will. It will place additional burden on our maintenance staff, whether you think that or not. It absolutely will. It absolutely will. I've shared with you, and I've read and done a lot of research on my own about dog parks. New York Times, the professional dog trainers and more, who don't believe the dog parks are a good decision. I have some questions about that being a good decision for a town of our size, and with the space that we have available. Are we really willing to cordon off a portion of our open space for a special purpose?
I really think I need to speak here just to respond to that special purpose issue. All of our parks have special purposes that meet specific groups of people's needs. We have tennis, we have exercise park, we have a children's park, we have a family park. So all of our parks and services do always really represent groups of people. So I don't want to cordon off that groups of people that are dog owners are a special interest group that doesn't apply in our town. So that's really important.
That's fair. That's fair, Cindy.
That's really
Because
important.
so our
Yeah.
children,
But can I ask just, I guess for me, what I would like to ask right now is, what is the purpose of tonight's discussion?
Okay.
What are we looking to achieve tonight? What should we be discussing tonight? And I didn't bring this agenda item up, so I just don't know where to begin. I don't want to begin in the middle or at the end. Where are we at with the dog park concept, and what was the goal of tonight's meeting?
I think obviously that this was discussed at a previous workshop, and I was given the go-ahead to move forward with more, to drill down more, get more information, do more research, get more specific. And then it was published in the Beach Beacon, and Redington Towers residents started firing emails at Town Hall. And that's why we're having this meeting, this workshop. I do want to, first of all, in those emails from the Redington Towers residents, there were a lot of misconceptions about the whole thing. And I don't know where these things came from, but I want to dispel some of those. And also to start out by saying this was completely resident driven, the idea of the dog park. It was resident driven. It was from comments to me when I was out campaigning a year ago. Also, in terms of this being a special interest group, sounds like it's this little tiny group of people. Well, just looking up in the tax records, there's 1,949 households. 665 of those are single family. Obviously, dogs aren't prohibited in any of those. We have a lot of duplexes in town, same thing. 1,135 condos, of those, 814 allow dogs. There's the one condo, Redington Towers, that I know of with 357 residences that do not allow dogs. So we're 75 to 85% dog friendly in this town. Even people who, just because, and at Redington Towers, there are people that don't have dogs because they don't like dogs. There are people that live in the houses that don't have dogs because they don't like dogs. But there are others who they don't not like dogs, they just don't want the responsibility, or they travel, it doesn't fit their lifestyle, etc. But it's not, dog owners being some minority. And I'm surprised. I've been tracking ever since this started, the for and against, and I'm surprised if Vice Mayor Robinson and Mayor Henderson have gotten, phone calls and that you haven't been documenting and sharing with the rest of the commission, like right before this meeting. If it's 50-50, I'm not aware of it. And I've been talking to people in all 4 districts. Let me just dispel the first thing. It's not the whole park. We're not going to turn all of Del Bello Park into a dog park. Although I guess one alternative would be to take down the no dogs allowed signs in Del Bello Park, which are double the size of no dogs allowed signs any place else in our town or outside of our town, double the size. And we could just make it an on-leash park where dogs can be in there as long as they are leashed. In Indian Rocks Beach, the park behind the Beach Art Center and Town Hall, that's what they have there. There's actually a playground there. There's a skate thing there. The Little League ball games are played back there. And people are free to walk their dogs on the paths and through that park as long as they're leashed. We could do that with Del Bello Park. Then the whole park would be not a dog park, but not a dog park.
Dog friendly.
It would be dog friendly, and our town would be dog friendly. Right now, with those enormous signs there and elsewhere, it just looks like we are not a very friendly place to live. But as far as an off-leash dog park, and there are a lot of positives for an off-leash dog park, it's in the right, and I had sent this out to the commissioners before, it's in the northeast corner, and not even a fourth of the park, not even 25% of the park. It's just a small space being set aside. We considered, the Parks and Recreation Committee considered starting with the public parking lot across the street from Wahoo's. There's a little patch of grass behind there. That's the first place I considered it would be the least intrusive and a small park. Maybe we could start there. There was already a cement bench there and people kind of unofficially took their dogs through there. But then there is one resident whose house is like immediately next to that area. And apparently he said, I didn't complain when you tore down the building and made it a parking lot next to me, but I guess the grass served as a buffer between his house and the parking lot. So he didn't mind it so much. So he was the one guy, and he would be adamantly opposed to it. Constitution Park, that's another place that we considered. Facing the park, the upper, would be the southwest corner of the park. We thought about that. But then also there's another house or two right there, like on two sides, there's houses, there's residents. And that's not just necessarily tourists. There's some people that actually live there full time. Thelma Spitzer is full of playground equipment and the one free play area for the kids. We looked at those. We looked at every single parcel that's owned by the town. They were either too small or too close to residential areas. Del Bello, in this northeast corner of Del Bello Park, and in the the research I've done about dog parks, they recommend between 20 and 200 feet away from the nearest residence. And actually from the edge of this area to the outside concrete wall that starts the campus of Redington Tower is 326 feet. So from there to the nearest building, which is building 2, what's that, another 100 feet, 75 feet? So it's the farthest we can get to any residential area. That's why we chose Del Bello Park. And I think it was funny that one of the Redington Towers residents said, my problem isn't with the dog, but placing a dog park in a human area. This is as far away from humans as we can get, really.
Jenny, can I ask you,
Go ahead.
interrupt a minute, just ask a couple questions? Okay, my first comment is I was surprised when I learned that we didn't allow leash dogs in our park. So I understand the issue of trying to make the town more dog friendly. I understand that. And the other question that I had was some of the things that I read, and I think some of the things I shared with the rest of the commission, or I had Mary share today, talked about the size of dog parks. And I'm curious about that and what research you've done. You're saying that this is less than a quarter of the space of Del Bello Park.
Mhm.
Is that sufficient for a dog park, number one? And number two, a lot of what I read was a question of size of dog park and size of animals, that putting large animals and small animals together is a prescription for disaster.
Okay, two things. First of all, the park is an acre and a quarter, and this is less than 25% of that space. So do the math. It's a small park. We visited this small park in Tampa that was a very similar size. They did not have, when you have a smaller park like that, of course, all the articles, I read the research too, they say, if you have an acre or a half an acre, okay, like a half an acre would be considered small, but needs must. That doesn't mean that there aren't these, what they call, there's got to be small dog parks, because otherwise they wouldn't have a name for them, which is pocket parks. So, and the Queenie Park that we visited in Tampa is kind of was a great example of that type of park, a small park for dogs working really, really well. And so I took a lot from that. As far as large and small dogs, I think the space is too small to have a separate area for small and large dogs. Neither one would be given the room. I don't want to slight either group because they have to be able to run around. And Queenie didn't have a separation of small and large dog section. And when we were there, there was like zero problem. It was just so harmonious, the whole place, the whole thing. Everybody was getting along. It was great. If it became a problem, then we just go to odd even. On odd days, large dogs, even days, small dogs. That's how we can do it. Let's see. Another thing, this is the smallness of the park is another reason why that surface, that soft surface that I talked about before, that's where that is very practical, because in the things I read about the larger dog parks, because dogs are hard on the turf, the grass, because of that, it gets all clawed up. You have to have something big enough to rotate. So you close off a section of the park while that grass restores itself, and you work on that a little bit, and you move the dogs over to this other section, and then so forth. You rotate so that in order to take good care of the ground. And this is why there were a lot of comments that said, you know, there's Walsingham Park, there's these other parks you can take your dog to. Well, the problem is that Walsingham, yes, it's a big park, but a couple of things. I have to get my dogs into the car, drive over to Walsingham, which is a lovely park. That is a grass park, and a lot of it is sand and burrs, and then they have a drinking fountain there for the dogs, and it ends up being muddy. And so I have to then put my dogs back in the car, and at the end of the outing, I have to clean my dogs and the car. So this is why it would be, this is why I'm talking about, the committee was talking about going with that surface, is because the dogs don't go home a mess. It is, there are a lot of different types of those surfaces, but there's one type that I found that would be resistant to dogs doing this scratching with their claws. Let's see, there was something else I was going to say about that. The size of the park, that surface. I mean, it will hold up over time. Also, if you have grass in the park, we have to have a separate gate that's big enough to get a mower in. Then you have to maintain the grass inside. If we do this and we do the surface from the ground up with the fence, then it may cost more upfront than just doing the fence, but over time it's going to cost less in maintenance and also be much, much easier to clean and take care of.
And
Yeah.
who's going to do that cleaning and taking care of it?
The maintenance department, which does it now. We either have to pay someone, which we're doing now, to come and mow the grass. I mean, we're paying to maintain the park now. We're paying our employees to go and empty the trash now. We're paying to have I forget the name of the company that comes and actually mows the grass. The employees used to do it, but then we let it out by contract to do that. And then we have a guy once a year come and trim the trees up around town.
Can I
Send
say
it.
something? Can I say something? I like the idea of a dog park, but I think at this juncture, it would be appropriate if the committee, the Parks and Rec committee, or we had a proposal in front of us that would say, this is the proposed area. These are the amenities that the park would offer. I know you've done it verbally and you've done a little bit of it, but actually have a proposal that outlines what this dog park will convey to our community, and then addresses the concerns that the residents of the towers primarily have, and how you can mitigate some of these issues, and also put some facts to it. For me, I guess the biggest thing that I take from the opposition is the lack of peacefulness that this dog park may cause. We don't really have a clear idea as to the noise level that this dog park would provide in that area. And for me, I like to operate on facts, and I'd like to be able to say to people more than, it's not bad. Dogs, it's playing,
Yeah.
you know, but dogs are gonna bark, but they're not gonna bark a lot. How do we really know?
Yeah.
So I was wondering, you know, number one, I think we need to have a better proposal outlined for us to take a look at. To then, so even if we do take this to a referendum or a vote for the community, they can see what they're voting on, not just the concept of a dog park, but what we believe this amenity would bring to our town and exactly what it is and what it contains.
Mhm.
But I don't know, can we do some sort of dog activity in the park to get some dogs out there to hear what noises they would make, just to see the reality of dog interaction, you know, so that we could be really educated as to this is the level of noise. I don't know. Is there any way to kind of create
Like have an on leash bark in the park or something?
something? I mean, I don't know, something just to hear.
Mhm.
You know, I went to the towers today to look out and see what the view was and to kind of get a feel. If I lived there, how would I feel? You know, what impact would this have on me? So I did that. And the only thing I was left with was, yeah, I like the idea of a dog park. I know my constituents in District 2 would love to have a dog park. I'm just not quite, I just don't have the facts on the noise factor. I know maybe that's an unknown that we can't get, but I would appreciate getting a better handle on that. I think that might mitigate some problems. You know, I'd like to see an advisory committee formed along with this dog park, so that we constantly have some quality assurance measures that are going on, like that there's a group of people that are constantly looking at, if we move forward. So we have a
Right.
committee of people that it would include people from the towers if we entertain this, so that they can weigh in on, you know, these are some issues and things that we need to mitigate. So I guess for me, I would like more of a proposal than just the discussion. And that would really give us the meat we need to really have some questions answered and ask some questions. Because I do think there were misconceptions out there as to what size the dog park was going to be. You know, you might have answers to all these questions.
Right.
Perhaps like we do a request for proposal, we literally have a proposal that's pretty formal for this amenity. I just think would be a nicer approach.
I just wanted to spell a couple more of the misconceptions that we saw in some of these emails. First of which was the noise. Yeah, it was the noise, it was dog poop, and it was parking were the three main ones. As for the noise, one person said barking from before dawn and into the night. It's not going to be open at night. It's going to have very specific hours that the dog park section of the park will be open. I had people say they're going to be barking at people walking by on the sidewalk, because I guess they imagined it was either the whole park or it will go right up to the sidewalk. And no, it's going to be set back from the sidewalk, set back from the bus stop. So that's not going to be a distraction for dogs. Also, the other possibility to help to mitigate some of the sound is, and I sent a copy of this out to the commissioners, that there are sunshades. We need to have some shade for the dogs and the people anyway. But if we do sunshades, like the example I sent out to the commissioners, and I like that one because it's a single pole, but that would provide shade, but it also would help to buffer the noise going up to Redington Towers, which, I mean, I know that from Redington Towers, you can really hear the traffic going by on Gulf Boulevard. I don't know if you could hear dogs over the traffic noise. The people that were for the dog park, when I talked to them about the noise, the concern about the noise, they said, how can anybody at Redington Towers hear anything in the park over the sound of the traffic? But I think you're right, Cinda. I don't know if there's a way to measure the sound, like from the, if we could have dogs with microphones in the park, or have a microphone up on the 7th floor of Redington Towers to see, what, do they hear it at all? And if so, at what level?
We don't have dogs in there now, so we don't have any test knowledge, do we? I mean, maybe,
Now,
I'm actually not opposed to trying to have it dog friendly over there and just see how it goes. I'm not opposed to that at all.
can we remove the no dogs allowed signs?
That would be a commission decision, but I would not be opposed to trying it that way. I mean, it's almost like a try it before you, what's happening here? You see all the, okay. Mary, what are you doing?
I'm trying to talk.
I
I'm
am-
trying to talk, and I was being courteous by raising my hand, but my hand isn't
No,
being acknowledged.
but you got it. But I don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing to kind of try it before you buy it thing and see how that goes. And, we have to be reasonable here, we have to be reasonable.
If we could suspend the ordinance for that part for a period of time and I think that may help with what Cinda was asking about understanding what the noise was.
Mhm.
It might also, it also might be another alternative eventually that we want to consider. And I also like Cinda's suggestion that we really need we really, and I think that was what your desire was when you brought this up before, Commissioner Blackburn. You wanted to gauge whether or not there was enough interest on the part of the commission in order to do some additional legwork and put a proposal together. And I think you're right. I think the Beach Beacon article, created a lot more stir before you had all of those answers.
Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is that there are advantages to an off-leash park, a fenced-in off-leash park. Dogs often behave better off-leash. If they're on leash, it's a different tension. And the research that I've done about, and fenced-in off-leash parks versus dogs being on leash, it changes their behavior. That tension with the dog, with the restraint, with the leash, it changes their behavior. And also, when you have an off-leash dog park that's enclosed like that, you've heard of, there's a website, I think, called Dog Shaming. It's dogs doing dumb things. But with dog parks, you have owner shaming. I mean, there's a Walsingham Park, it's the same woman that, if you're busy talking to other people in the park and you're not keeping a strict eye on your dog, she'll come up and tell you your dog left a deposit over there. And she said that the same way to everybody I've ever talked to that goes there. So people who frequent the park, especially, and we could even, I talked to the Parks Committee about this, about having ambassadors or custodians that would be responsible for enforcement. And there's a certain amount of owner shaming. And we also, another big thing for the off-leash and closed dog park is that you have a set of rules, very specific rules. No toys, no food in the park. Any sign of aggression by a dog, you get kicked out of the park. You have to have the tag that shows that your dog's been vaccinated in order for the dog to come into the park. When
Who
you have
monitors that?
the ambassadors, and
Who
plus
monitors that?
the ambassadors and people in the park, the owners of in the park. You say, because it's on the tag, it's on the collar that shows you've had your shots, or the dog has, not necessarily the owners. The other thing we heard about was parking. There's no place for the dog people to park. With this many, 1,592 dog-friendly residences in town. That doesn't mean there's that many dogs, but there's a lot of them. How great to, like I said, what a hassle it is to get in your car and drive to a park. Chances are people aren't going to do that when there's so many within walking distance of the park. And it's nice to be able to, you know, a little 5 or 10 minute walk to the park that releases some of the dog energy. When they get there, they're more relaxed by the time they get there. But that parking on Gulf Boulevard or parking at Redington Towers, I sent you guys a copy of a couple of pages from a sort of a documentation of the early days and the history of Redington Towers. And the fella talked about from the beginning, parking has been an issue at Redington Towers. And but the nice thing about parking on Gulf Boulevard is that it's a self-limiting resource. If when the parking spaces are full, someone who wants to drive there and park and get out and go to the dog park isn't going to be able to. So let's see what else. I think that's it. Yep. But so many people can walk to it. Also, there were concerns with residents at Redington Towers that this would block the view. It's not going to block the view. The way building 2, 1, and 3 are angled, it's to take advantage of the best water views. And building 2 is angled towards that little inlet with Pumpkin Key, not towards the dog park. We kept it as far away from the water as we could. And this is not going to affect all of the stacks in the buildings. I think the A stack in building 1 and building 3 are the closest. And the A stack also has a wraparound porch. So they would be spending more time on that side of the building that faces more towards Del Bello Park. And Tower 2, there's a couple of stacks that are not affected at all by the dog park, the ones that face the Gulf. Let's see. You know, the mess with the hygiene, that surface would take care of a lot of that. The expense, like I said, it would be an initial outlay, but then over time we would save money on the maintenance of the grass. But the reasons to have the article Vice Mayor Robinson is talking about, there was actually more of like a blog written by a dog training company. There are probably 50 times the number of positive articles, like why having a dog park is a good thing, not just for dogs, but for people. It's a great opportunity to socialize. Dog owners learn from other more experienced dog owners if they're having behavior or dietary problems with their dogs. It's also, here's the other thing, having an off-leash enclosed dog park. I know we have a problem with dogs on the beach. Having an enclosed off-leash dog park is not going to put more dogs on the beach. It will enable us, like the other night I was at the beach and somebody was there and had a dog on the beach, and that conversation was made much more palatable by me being able to say, look, we're trying to get a dog park. I mean, people just want some place for their dogs to have some open space. I believe that's why we have all these dogs on the beach. People are looking for open space. Now, maybe letting them be on leash in all of our parks would be an answer, and would, it makes it easier to have that conversation to say, no, dogs are not allowed here, but dogs are welcome over here. We have nothing like that now. So, but it made that conversation much more palatable. And having a dog park is the #1 amenity that people want in a park across the country. I think the number of dog parks has increased, or dog park sections has increased by 40% between 2009 and 2018. And it engages the residents, not just the dogs. It's not just for dogs. But that's it.
Yeah, so Jen, can I be recognized, or Cinda or somebody, or Sherry?
Go ahead.
Hello?
It's me actually that's supposed to do that, but okay.
Well, I've had my hand raised for the last
I didn't
10
see.
minutes, and it seemed like everybody else
I didn't see.
was talking, so I just wanted, so I think Commissioner Blackburn did an excellent job in doing her research as to why a dog park makes sense. And I do apologize. We have an ordinance here over in our condominium that people aren't supposed to be weed whacking or doing other things, yet it's 7 o'clock at night. Nobody's supposed to be doing anything. They're not supposed to be doing it after 5 o'clock, and there's noise here. So the noise issue, I guess, my condominium sits back further than Redington Towers 2 does from the Gulf Boulevard. And I've heard everything at 2, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, from fire engines to motorcycles to garbage trucks to commercial vehicles running up and down here, including Sunset Boulevard. So I think it'd be a great idea to not only measure the noise level associated with what the dogs would bring or not bring, or how much that would, the decibels would be increased by a dog park versus the different hours of the night. And as Jenny said, we're talking about probably something like dusk to dawn or 8 to 5 or something like that. So I think people sleep somewhere after 10 o'clock and get up somewhere before 8 o'clock. So I would hope that that would not be the noise from the dogs, but more like the noise from motorcycles and fire trucks and garbage trucks doing their patrols during the morning hours. So that's on the noise. So let me speak a little bit about dog friendly. Yes, I am a dog owner, for those of you who don't know that. And I find that part of the reason why I came to this side of Florida is because this side of Florida is more dog friendly than the East Coast. Almost every condominium or complex that I looked at, townhouses, in the Boca Raton area, as well as some others up in Fort Lauderdale and so forth, none of those seem to be as dog friendly as most of the communities here on the West Coast. Also, I don't know how many residents know this, but we have at least one motel, actually about a half a block from City Hall, that allows dogs. And I had a conversation with that motel owner, and he tells me that he has more people staying at his place when they find out that it's dog friendly. And then he's frustrated when he has to communicate to his customers that they have to go to Madeira Beach or to Indian Rocks Beach or to Walsingham Park to take their dog. I won't get into the other communities that have, dog friendly bars or dog venues, but talking about square feet and the interactions of big dogs versus small dogs, on Central Avenue in St. Petersburg is a place called the Dog Bar. That dog bar footprint is about half the size of what we're talking about, and it's enclosed technically, as well as it's sheltered. So you have an enclosed area. And when I was there on a Friday night with my dog, there were probably 20 dogs in that area. Again, now mindful, less than what we're talking about in DeBella Park, where we want to quarter off of basically 20% or about a quarter of an acre. That dog park had, and 3/4 of those dogs were at least 75 to 80 pounds, about 7 or 8 times, maybe more than that, 700 times the size of my dog. And the dogs, the large dogs, the medium-sized dogs, big dogs, they all interacted well. There was no violence. There was nothing, any confrontation or anything that took place. I find that most people who take advantage of these dogs, first of all, know whether their dog can handle going into a park and want to take their dog to a park. And I think, unfortunately, some of, like I said before, some of the mendacity that's been shared on some of these emails, they don't really respect that. Most of the dog owners are very respectful of others, as very well respectful of their dogs. So some of the things that were discussed, I don't think are really necessarily accurate. And then last but not least is, if we did have more of a dog-friendly town, which I consider the town, not my condominium. My condominium is very dog-friendly. And even the owners that don't have dogs, they're very much friendly about the dogs that are here. If we change it to whether we allow dogs in the parks or whether we allow dogs leashed into the parks, if we make some of those changes, maybe we don't have to convert the Bella Park. So I like the fact that, and I think somebody asked, well, why are we here tonight? I think this is why we're here. And we haven't heard yet from the 50, it's been vacillating between 50 and 53 people that are on this particular Zoom meeting. I think why we're here is to hear the pros and cons. Again, we want to be respectful of everybody, and we want all the opinions. And as Mary Beth said too, not everybody gets a trophy, but majority usually wins. So that's the way, when it comes down to a vote, whether it's on the commission or whether it's in a referendum, it is what it is. But I'm just hopeful that that we do take time, and as Commissioner Robinson said, we do need to do some more due diligence about this. But I just think that that article in the paper created more anxiety, especially for people who were not dog friendly or don't appreciate dog owners, created more chaos here in this town than probably needed. That's
There's
all.
one, thank you. I really appreciate that. One more misconception. I had a couple of people say, and Redington Towers donated that land to the town. They didn't. This was actually, let's see, I spoke to both Jody Armstrong, who was the mayor back then, and Christy Herrig, who was on the commission back then. And Christy actually wrote the grant where the state of Florida gave us the money, provided the money for us to buy the parkland from the developer. The developer of Redington Towers had always planned to put condominiums on that property. And there was supposed to be a marina and all this stuff. But anyway, I don't think he could get the building costs had gone up, and I don't think he could get the height he wanted to do the number of units he needed in order to make the money. So he agreed to sell it to the town. I don't know, Mary, since Christy's on the call and since she was involved in that, can you unmute her and let's give her a couple minutes to share what she remembers about that? The grant for the land. I wanted to spell that we don't own that.
Correct.
Okay.
Christy, if you'll unmute yourself.
There she goes.
I
There she
did.
goes.
Okay, so yes, I did write the grant. Jody Armstrong was not mayor. There were several mayors before Jody became mayor. It was Dick Feimster was mayor. And yes, the developer had to agree before I could even go for the grant. And the grant was highly contested. I think there were maybe $30 million throughout the state of Florida. It was called Preservation 2000. And I believe, and I could be wrong, it was 1995 that the state bought the land and then deeded it to us. So they did the negotiations because they had rules that they could not go too much over an appraisal. So just that's the background on that. Now, I also have my handout. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you were finished. I have some information to share with the group.
So go ahead, Christy.
Go ahead, Christy. I'm sorry, Christy, my bad.
Okay, well, I just had some other comments about all of your comments. So I was done with the grant stuff. The grant that the Towers did not give us that property. The state actually gave us that property through a grant process.
Yeah. Could I,
If you
could I
want,
comment on that? Because I did some research. So on July the 30th, 1996, and J.J. Baruti was the mayor at the time, Resolution 0796 was passed, and I quote, "Whereas the acquisition of such park was made possible through a grant from the Florida Communities Trust, with Florida Communities Trust contributing $750,000 of the purchase price." And then here's the second part of this, where I think maybe I can have some people who might have been around then, because I've heard, as I said earlier, some mendacity being spread about the balance of the 50, just so we have all the math. The original proposal from the developer was $850,000 to the town. The town then negotiated a purchase price of $800,000. And as was previously said, $750,000 of that came through the grant. And then here's where I think I need some clarification. I wasn't able to finish my research, but in this resolution, it says, whereas the town of Redington Shores contributed an amount of $50,000 toward the purchase price of such parcel, with such sum being deducted from the town's penny for Pinellas sales tax revenue fund. So that's what I have on record, at least from what my research has found. And I won't mention anything else about how the name got there or anything else, because I hear, again, I deal with facts and information. I don't deal with conversations or hearsay. So that's why I said earlier, there's been a lot of mendacity floating around here about various points about this piece of property.
okay, well, like I said, I wrote the grant. Yes, it took a little over a year to actually get the money and get the park purchased. But, you know, the reason the park is named what it was is that somewhere, supposedly another $50,000 was exchanged.
Correct.
But there is no record of that. That was sort of done behind the scenes.
I think that was done between Dale DeBello and the state. That was to the state of Florida.
Really?
That was to the
Yeah.
developer. Mary, that was to the developer.
Okay,
I was dating him at the time.
okay.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. So much for public records.
Well, there was no public record of that.
Mhm.
It was a side deal. Anyway, I would, however, I do think the state still has some responsibility on that property and would like to review. I thought that Jenny had already gotten that review. It doesn't take a super formal plan, but just a little bit of a plan, get to the state, get their approval. I think that's a you know, Cinda saying that we need to see more details on this is absolutely correct. I agree with the mayor that possibly a vote, but what about using our Alert Pinellas? Could we get some input ahead through our email system?
Yep.
And
If I can just say one thing, I'm sorry, Christy. Are
Yeah.
we going into the whole public comment right now?
I was, sorry.
I know you were. That's why I'm asking the commission. I didn't know if they were done, Christy. Hold on. Are you all,
I don't have anything else.
I'm good.
Mary Beth, you're
Just-
muted. Michael, just shake your
We'll
head.
just be turning it back to the Parks and Rec committee to further
Yeah.
hash it out. And somebody already texted me a dosimeter, I think it is,
Decibel meter, yeah.
measuring sound, yes.
Okay, so,
And I would suggest this
if-
doesn't have to be rocket scientists. Go to Walsingham. They're they're the busiest county dog park. Measure for a half an hour there in the morning. That's the busiest time. And then go measure Gulf Boulevard, see what the differential is.
Okay, Mary?
And I'm done. So you can mute
Okay.
me.
I'll mute you.
Okay, the next,
Okay, so what we would like to ask the attendees wishing to comment on the dog park subject to limit their contribution to points that have not already been addressed or discussed. Please listen to the comments of those before and present and present only new or additional points. This will allow all issues to be brought forward in a concise manner. And when I call on you, I will unmute you, and if you will state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes. How did I do, Cinda? Okay, I have a Marie Hunter. I am going to unmute you, Marie, and you have 3 minutes.
Oh, hi, Maria Hunter, Redington Towers, Tower 112C. I am new to town, relatively new. A year we were the owners. And so listen, first I want to thank the mayor and the vice mayor to getting back to my email. I really appreciate that they acknowledged they wrote them. Listening to this meeting, and this is the first one that I've listened, I have a feeling that there's a lot of money in town to spend on the special covering. There's a lot of money in town to spend on the sales, for the shades, and on a lot of different ones. So it seems like a pandemic did not hit the town and you're flushed with cash. So that's the first thing that I could say. The second one, when you're saying you're going to put a vote out, some of the residents, including ourselves, are not registered to vote in Florida because Redington Towers is our second house, and a lot of the people are. So I am paying you full amount of taxes to support the town, but I cannot vote in a town on something that really is affecting me. So there should be a different way to get my vote since I am paying my full taxable rate. So my third comment would be, who will enforce the hours? Would you hire another person? Then speaking, are you flashed with cash to hire another person to pay for this? Commissioner Krajewski, and I am a dog lover, big dog, went to St. Petersburg to take his dog to Dog Park. Who are to say that people from Clearwater all the way down to Treasure Island are not going to bring their dogs there? I have in-laws who are in their 90s, live in Tampa. We spend about 40% of time down in Redington Towers. They come to visit us. Do I want them to walk for 2 miles with a cane so they can visit with their grandkids? Because there will be people parked on the street. And then I love the idea of a dog park and have it dog friendly, but that's not the place. There's nowhere to park. And then another one is, from some of the commissioners, I heard a little bit of the animosity towards the towers, but the towers is such a big part of the taxable income to the town. So when you make your decision and the park is right across the street from the towers, to take those people who are there into consideration, seeing that little park there with that little bench, unobstructed, was one of the big decisions why we bought there, because we have the view on both of the sides. Had we known that that would be the case, we might have looked somewhere else.
Maria, that is your 3 minutes, and thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
We can mute you now. And let me dismiss that. Hold on a second. And I have Nicholas. I am going to unmute you and allow you to talk. You have 3 minutes, and please state your name and address. Go ahead, Nicholas.
Actually, it's Stephanie Tricopoulos. Nikos is my husband.
Oh, okay.
And thank you for your attention on this, first of all. I live in Redington Towers in Building 2, and I face the Intercoastal, but I'm coming to you tonight as not a resident of Redington Shores Tower, but as a mom of a 9-year-old and a previous dog owner for 25 years. And my concern when I first heard about the dog park is that I had a circumstance about 3 months ago where me and my little boy, he's 9, we were walking kind of close to Dunkin' Donuts. And there was a dog that was on a leash, but the man had gone inside to go buy donuts and he let his dog loose. Well, I'll be darned, that dog attacked my son. Thank God it had a muzzle, so my son was okay. But you can just imagine the fear that was involved in that. So When I heard about a dog park possibly opening, it made me think about when we walk around or other young children or families that may bring strollers into the dog park, what their chance of being bit may be. So that was a concern of mine. The second concern I have is with the dog poop, but I'm going to speak kind of on a different term for that. My concern about the dog poop is the parasite infections that can be inside dog feces, especially something called toxicara, and that's caused from roundworm. And then what happens is it gets embedded into the soil or maybe whatever kind of surface, because I listened to you, yeah, you may use a different kind of surface, but it's especially dangerous for people who are have like a compromised immune system, or especially for children. And what it does, it actually enters the retina of the eye and can lead to blindness. So that was a concern of mine. The other concern, like I said, as a previous dog owner, is I think you've got to have a separation between small dogs and big dogs, because I have seen too many fights in my 25 years of having dogs. Another concern is that kennel cold can be spread between dogs. They meet nose to nose, and that can also be spread. So I guess what I'm trying to say, when I thought about a dog park, I love the idea of the camaraderie. I love the idea of seeing different dogs and being able to talk to people. But there just seems to be so many dangers involved in it. That's why personally I'm against it. Forget the parking, forget the noise. I'll look right in front of it. I'm more concerned about little kids, and I'm more concerned about the dangers to the dogs. So that's all I need to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, the next, let's see, I will mute her. The next one is I have Lewis. Let's see, where'd you go? Whoops, I think you put your hand down. Okay, Pauline Shoes. I will allow you to talk. Please state your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes. Are you there?
They're muted still. That's on
Pauline?
mute.
Yeah, you have to unmute yourself. Where'd you go?
They're there, it's just muted still.
Yeah, you still need to unmute yourself, Polly. Okay, can you unmute yourself, Polly?
I think you're calling on the wrong person because I keep getting a message to unmute and I already spoke.
Okay, well, I muted you. Hold on. I'm going to mute you. Thank you, Maria. But I do have Polly up on the screen. Okay, I'm going to move on and I will go to Susan Watkins. I will unmute you. You will need to unmute yourself, state your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes. Susan, what is going on? I have asked to unmute Susan Watkins.
Yes, can you hear me
Okay,
now?
now I can hear you. Yes, please.
Finally. Yeah, Susan Watkins and David Watkins, Redington Towers 2. I think dogs on Leash Park would be nice. Unfortunately, one night when we were over at Botanical Gardens, dogs get in fight on leashes. Now you're saying, you know, on leashes too, the dogs without the leashes, what if they're fighting? Who's going to separate them? And as one of your callers stated, that children could be at risk, you know, about the dogs getting loose. Who's going to pay if the dog attacks people? Who's going to be liable for all this? Also, regarding the dog poop, we play tennis a lot over at the tennis place. The dogs poop in the parking places. They don't pick them up. The people don't pick up the poop on the way to the intercoastal there. So who's going to be watching that all these people that are not picking up the dog poop now are going to be picking up the poop in the dog park? Also, people, we live across from there and we love walking across, and people put kayaks in from over there and everything. And fortunately, you said it would be at the northeast side, so it would not impact any of the fishermen or the people there, which is nice. I'm not worried about the noise. I'm just worried about all the people coming from all over the place to come here, because once they hear it's a dog park, they will come from Redington Beach, North Redington Beach, Treasure Island. They will come from all over Indian Rocks Beach. It won't just be Redington Shores people. So those are some of the things that I'm doing and thinking about. And I was thinking, worried about the parking too. My main thing is who's going to stop the dogs fighting each other, the owners, you know, when they try to separate dogs and stuff. That's a big thing. And you might want to go down to Fort, what is it, down south, where they have the dog parks and stuff, and they have to close the parks because of coliform bacteria and stuff like that. So you might research that. My husband wants to say something too. I thank you for all your people making wonderful, you know, statements and everything, and for all of you listening to us. This is great. Here's my husband.
Hi, thank
This
you.
is David.
I have one thing, and that is this. This park should be for the residents and the dogs of the residents of Redington Shores, Florida, not for Pinellas Park or Largo or Seminole or any other place. Just like the school district. If you want your kid to go to school here, you have to be a resident of the school district. And I would like IDs to get into the park, that you are a resident of Redington Shores. And I don't want to see people coming in from hither and yon and everywhere else.
And we don't want to
Just
keep
Redington
fences either.
Shores.
No fences either. I like I say, dog friendly, walking the dogs is fine, but who's responsible when the dog attacks the person?
So thank you.
Thank you
And
very
thank you
much.
for representing us.
Yes, thank you for listening to all of us.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, I'm going to mute Susan. Hold on, let me dismiss this. Okay. And Polly Shoes, are you available now? Polly Shoes. Polly? Okay, I will go on. And I have a GAXSMO. Are you available to speak? GAXSMO.
Mary, ask them to unmute themselves.
Yes, I'm tapping them to do so, but
Okay.
if you'll please unmute yourself. ASK, the heck is that? Let's go. GAXSMO. Okay, I will go on to, let's see.
Jackpot.
Okay, there you go. GAXSMO, you are on. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address. Go ahead. Where'd you go?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
I didn't, I'm just laughing. I say we vote on it. That's all I
Okay.
have to say.
All righty. Thank you very much for your comment. All right, let me mute GAX. And we will go down to Paul Monson. If you will unmute yourself, let me restart. Paul?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
And if you'll state your name, your address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Paul Monson, and I own Unit 804 in Redington Towers 2. But my wife also owns 704 and her father 1905. We were in I want to address some of the things that Commissioner Blackburn said a few minutes ago as far as the noise. We were in 1905, which is one of the stacks which faces the ocean. And we very, very clearly heard well above the traffic the yaps from a police dog that was around the other side of the building under a parking garage. So similar kind of distance and hiddenness as a park would be. And it was the noise was as if it was on our balcony. Part of it is the way it echoes up through, between the buildings there. But it sounded like it was right on our balcony. It was that loud coming from 19 floors below and around the other side of the building. So it carries in a different way than traffic carries. It's not the low rumble. The other thing about the parking is I don't just worry about the parking along Gulf Boulevard. That's fine. It's people that don't find it there and then they park at Seabreeze or they park at the beach parking down the way and take that parking away from either the restaurant or the people that want to be on the beach. So, and people will drive in, as others have said. I appreciate all the comments we've heard because I'm very much in concert with most of them. That's enough for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I will mute Paul. Oh, wait a minute. Paul, where'd you go? Okay, the next one we have is Carol Mucinix. Carol, if I'm going to unmute you, if you will please state your name and your address, and you will have 3 minutes for your comments. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Carol Music, 17820 Lee Avenue. So just from the perspective as a rental property, certainly we support anything you can do for renters that have dogs. We currently don't allow that just because as a beachfront owner, we are afraid that they'll take them out on the beach. Sometimes people sneak them in. We have it on the refrigerator. You're not supposed to take it out on the beach. On Lee Avenue, of course, there's lots of residents that have dogs. We support a, dog park. We have a dog. We've always had a dog. We've had numerous dogs just in our experience. Male and female dogs and different breeds of dogs. You never know how they react with each other. So I agree with a lot of the comments that you don't need to have them unleashed because you have no idea how the different breeds and the different sexes of dogs will react. You certainly would need it fenced. And then there really is a liability with the city because if there are children or if there are adults that get bitten, and also with the dog coughing, that kind of thing can certainly spread as well. I mean, it can in dog kennels, it can with dogs, as well. So you got to really take all of that into consideration. As far as the noise, a decimeter is a great thing to try out. A decimeter would be a good thing, frankly, as far as noise and nuisance in any kind of situation, rental or dogs or anything. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. I will mute her. And the next one, hold on one second. Okay, we have Polly Shoes. Are you, have you unmuted yourself yet? Polly Shoes. Okay, no. And we're gonna go down to Lewis. Lewis, I'm gonna allow you to talk. Please state your name, unmute yourself, and give us your address, please.
Hi, good afternoon. It's been interesting to hear all the comments and I agree with a lot of them. I live in Redington Towers, 17D, directly across the street. And of course, this condominium is not dog friendly from the beginning, but I do have an emotional support dog. And of course, living right across the street, not being able to take the dog across the street because of the big signs there, obviously it does not appear to be a dog friendly town as well. So my comment is that I think that just making it a dog friendly is good enough for a start and doing all those other due diligence and as far as noise goes, that should be done because as one resident said, I live on the 17th and I can hear a lot of dogs bark either they're illegally at the beach or sometimes even across the street on Gulf Boulevard. So you can hear that even this high. And it's not between buildings. I'm in Tower 3. So you can hear that. So at least making it dog friendly would help. And of course, everybody that's a dog owner should just be responsible for their dogs and clean up after themselves and so forth. But a lot of people in this building have let us know that obviously they're not dog friendly. And they said they bought here because there was no dogs and now dogs are starting to show up. So I just believe that at least making it dog friendly would help immensely, especially since we now have a crossing lane now to go across the street. It makes it a lot safer to go with the dogs. Just getting those signs taken down, I think would help, at least for now. And then Ms. Blackburn, you did very well. I mean, everything you said is like right on. I think a dog park is nice. And I think it would be helpful. My little dog would like to run around and all that, she's very friendly, but they do need to exercise and all that. So I think you did your due diligence. And I believe that a lot of people are for than against. But again, I live here across the street now And you can hear a lot of things, even up to the 17th floor. And that's all I got to say. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, Louis, I will mute you. Polly Shoes, I'm going to try you again. Are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Okay. Veronica Katz, I am allowing you to talk. Please unmute yourself. State your name and your address. Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica Katz. My address is 203 180th Avenue. And thank you everyone for bringing this issue forth. A couple of different comments. One, some of the towns that were suggested that we would have folks coming in to use our dog park, I would call out that all of those towns, in fact, most towns I've heard of have a dog park. So the likelihood that they would travel to ours is much slimmer. I do love the idea of making it for residents only and putting that on the sign. And I would ask the park commissioner potentially to comment on the impact, positive or negative, a park could have on other areas that exist in the town. My research and everything indicates that parks tend to actually reduce the amount of waste and dog related issues. I should add that not only am I a resident, I was on the board of Paws for 5 years, which is one of the largest national organizations dedicated to make animal rescue a no-kill situation for communities. Dog parks, actually, cities that have dog parks tend to have less euthanized animals. And if you look at places like Pet Safety Net or Pet Safe Net, excuse me, you'll see that dog parks make it less likely for dogs to attack community members. It addresses behavioral issues predominantly because they get the extra exercise and they tend to spend more time with their owners and get greater socialization. There tends to be less issues with waste. And for some other unknown reason, there's actually less crime associated to towns with dog parks. I think since there are other towns that have dog parks in existence, you can easily look to see if there's been an impact of disease-related issues from stools in dog parks or any of the other things that are mentioned. I would likely guess not. In the research that I did, I saw in 2019 a very heated debate in Treasure Island over a dog park. And in that debate, it was just as passionate as this with people opposed or for, and all of the same issues with noise. It barely got approved by a minority vote. But I didn't find anything when I Googled or researched about any complaints of real problems that existed since the dog park was approved. I did, however, in doing this research, notice numerous towns. The number one thing that people rated those beach towns that thrive on tourism was their dog parks. So that's it. I think I've said that in less than 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yep, you did. You have 14 seconds to go.
Oh, Veronica.
Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. Okay, I'm going to mute Veronica. Cancel that. And Marie, well, wait a minute. Yep, Marie Paulina, I am going to allow you to talk. Please unmute yourself.
Okay.
State your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes.
My name is Marie Paulina. I live at 201 175th Avenue East. I'm a dog owner. First, in fact, you'll hear my dog. She's very passionate about this. First, I want to be sure that everybody who's receiving emails or calls or texts in regard to this issue begins documenting them so that we have everybody's comments. And when there are negative comments, we have something to work with to try and address them. I have been to the Indian Rocks Beach dog park. I don't know what that size would compare to what's being proposed, but it's much smaller than Walsingham. It has both large and small dogs. I have a 9-pound dog. We've been there with, on a pretty active afternoon, and there wasn't any problems that we saw. If that size is similar to what's being proposed, that might be a good place to check for sound, because you could actually tell you know, from the early morning when it might really be a nuisance to people to later in the evening, like now where the sun, if you do it till sunset, where the sun is setting at 7:30. I have got to tell you, my dog has not been barking like this the whole time, but generally there are rules that are posted. I mean, every dog park I've been to, they almost all say that if you have small children, they either don't allow them or they have to be supervised all of the time with the parents. And they generally say you can't bring a stroller in. I agree that I'm sure there are statistics on the transmission of disease from feces and so forth. In terms of restricting other towns, you know, I understand the sentiment there, but I also understand that, you know, I'm going to Indian Rocks Beach, I'm going to Walsingham, I've been to Millennial, I've been to Madeira, you know, I've been to places, you know, sometimes because we don't have one here, but sometimes because I'm in the area or something else is going on in that area. And I think we want to be able to show off our town and all of the advantages to being here. If there was a way, once we get all of the information together, to do maybe some kind of town hall type presentation where there could be a, I would say poster, but on Zoom, you know what that means, so that you could show Del Bello Park and the portion that would be set off for this, kind of where it is in location with everything else. I think that would be really helpful, show people exactly what we're talking about. So thanks a whole lot. Thanks to everybody for putting all the information together.
Thank you. Yes.
Dogs are like kids. They know the second you get on the phone.
That's the truth.
Okay, now we have Margot. Margot, I'm going to allow you to talk. Please unmute yourself. Where did Margot go?
She's up there. She just needs to, I see her on the screen.
I don't see Margot. Oh, Margot, yes, please state your name and address and you will have 3 minutes.
She's still muted. You have to unmute yourself, Margot.
I asked her to.
Nope, she didn't do it yet.
Margot, can you unmute yourself?
There, finally.
Yes, you did it.
Okay. I just have one comment. I think it's very strange that you would pick to do DeBello Park. You know, you talked about the one park where there were 2 residents that would be impacted. And I don't know exactly how many residents there are in the towers, but here you're impacting, you know, I would assume in the neighborhood of 360 different residents with multiple people in them potentially. So it just seems, and those people picked property that doesn't allow pets, and that's where you're putting the park. It just seems to be inconsistent and conflicting. So other than that, I think that's about all I got to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Margot. Okay, Margot. And now we have Lisa Hendrickson. Lisa, if you'll unmute yourself, please state your name and address and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mary. Lisa Hendrickson, Sunset Reef 17960. And I think we all can agree that this topic is highly debated. We can also agree that people treat their animals as though they were their children and they have very much love for them. And I'm empathetic of that, but I also will go on the record to say that I'm absolutely opposed to the dog park at DeBello Park. And I'll state a couple reasons why. Number one, we have a crosswalk that has recently been installed, which is wonderful for the safety of the pedestrians, but it has created more foot traffic in the beach public access between the towers and Sunset Reef. And I am in full support with the towers when they say everything echoes, because everything echoes at Sunset Reef as well. In addition to that, there are 3 very enlightening things that I heard from the commission tonight. Number one, a written plan and proposal. Commissioner Blackburn, everything that you stated should be put in writing in your written proposal. The second thing is cost and liability assessment. And I'll get to cost in a minute, but I also want to talk about the liability. There is absolute liability on the town to have a dog park. And in addition to that, even if you're talking about a dog park versus dog friendly, when you take down those signs of no dogs prohibited in your park, you are opening up your town to liability because those signs protect you. And I will tell you from my risk management experience that if there's an altercation in the park, because you do not have a sign that states no dogs, the town absolutely will be liable. The third thing that was most enlightening to me tonight was bringing this very important topic to the ballot. Let us full-time residents who live here January through December to have a voice. Now, I can tell you that the condos along Gulf Boulevard have certain rules, and if they do allow animals, they have designated areas for those animals. And I think that you might find residents really want Redington Shores to invest their resources, not on a dog park, but a #1 amenity, as Commissioner Blackburn stated, a #1 amenity, the pier. Do you know how many times I have walked on the beach? Not only have I gotten a hook in my foot or my shoe from a fisherman, but the dead fish on the beach, they need a place to go. They need to have a recreational area. And so if the city or the town has the resources to expend funds, let's look at preserving our pier. Let's buy that property. Let's give a place for the fishermen and the tourists to come. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Okay, we have Melanie DeWitt. I am going to allow you to talk. Please unmute yourself. State your name and address.
Hi, Melanie DeWitt, 50 181st Street. We're new to the area. We just moved here the end of October and we had 2 dogs at that time. So we found that we couldn't walk the dogs on the beach. We couldn't walk them in the parks. The only choice that we had was just Gulf Boulevard. Well, unfortunately, one of our dogs got off the leash and was hit by a car on Gulf Boulevard. Cars were racing down the road and ran over him. So what we ended up having to do since then is find dog parks. So right now, daily, we go to Walsingham Park. We've gone to Indian Rocks. We've gone to Madeira. We've gone to all the different dog parks just so we could let the dog off the leash. We're all for the dog park. I go daily. Well, I've never seen any issues at any of the dog parks that we frequent. Actually, the owners are very courteous. There's no issues with dog poop. They pick it up. If they don't, then there's somebody right there saying, hey, your dog made a deposit. You need to grab it. The parks are very clean. There's not dog fights. There's more of a mess if you walk down Gulf Boulevard from the dogs that go to the bathroom and the owners don't even bother to pick it up than at the dog parks. But that's all I have to say. We are very much in favor of the dog park.
Thank you, Melanie.
And I'm very sorry about your dog, Melanie.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I have Barry Taylor. Barry, if you will unmute yourself, state your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Barry Taylor, 300 182nd Avenue East.
7, I think this was a very good airing. Yes, there are some differences. There are a lot of things that need to be addressed, and that this is not anywhere near a completed project yet. It was a good way, a good introduction to it. That we need to have better proposals, better graphics. Neither the people that are for or against the park really understand what we're talking about. And I think that they would have a better comprehension if we presented some graphics showing exactly where it was going to be, that sort of thing. Something for the proponents of it to do. On sound mitigation, some of the things that have been talked about is putting berms by the park. Also, we have a lot of donations. One of them would be the sun panels, the heavy duty commercial sun panels that would not only provide shade for the park, but also would mitigate sound considerably. There's other donations there. I know of several people that are willing to make economic contributions to this. The concerns of the towers certainly need to be addressed, but that the towers is about 18% of the total households. Now, they may or may not be anywhere near that in the voting because so many people at the towers are not residents here, but that they represent 18%. We did a survey, very heavy in District 4, but it is also throughout. We got input from throughout the area. In that survey, we found 129 people that supported the dog park. We found 34 people that were against, and of that 34, 29 of them were in the towers. So I think that it is easy to say that the biggest concern that we need to address is towers, because there were 5 people that were not towers people against the park, but 129 people that are against. And that didn't even include the 26 people that were visitors. Somebody said, oh, you can't count visitors. We didn't count visitors. The 26 people that were visitors, completely separate. 129 people that are residents here supported it, and 5 people opposed it that weren't in the towers. 29 people in the towers opposed it. So I know that the mayor has received a lot of input from different places. I don't think that she's got I think that she's got a disproportionate amount of pushback from the people that are opposed, and I don't know that she's got a realistic appreciation of the people that support it. A vote would be good, but let's develop it a little further, get a little better plans. If the plans are good enough and we address enough of the tower's concerns, we might not need to go to a vote. That's any other questions for me? I'm available on how we did the survey and how that sort of thing.
Thank you, Barry. At this time, I see no more hands raised on our attendee list.
Did you go back to Polly Shoes to
I don't
see?
see Polly anymore.
Okay.
Wait, there's 2 more that came up. Okay, we have Chris Cook from Redington Towers. Chris, if you would please unmute yourself, state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Chris Cook, 17920 Gulf Boulevard, Unit 1107, Redington Towers 2. And I know I've already spoken to the commission on previous issues or previous meetings about this. Couple of items that did come up in tonight's discussion. I know Commissioner Blackburn had stated that she had 128 people for and 34 people against of the comments that came to her. I would keep in mind, Commissioner Blackburn, that you are the one that supported this. So people that were opposed to it probably did not come to you necessarily with their opposition because they knew that they weren't going to have any chance of changing your mind on it. No, seriously, I'm sorry. You don't need to make a nut. Also, to comment of what I've got at this point now, 14 people that have spoken tonight at the meeting. It's been 9 against with myself and 5 for. So it's been almost a 2-to-1 against. So, your keeping track of comments, et cetera, was not necessarily representative of the people who were interested enough in the meeting or the issue to come to the meeting. Couple of things too. You commented about people coming from other towns. I realize that the other towns that are closest to us are the ones that do not have the dog parks. from what I know, Madeira Beach has one, Indian Rocks has one. So we're in between those. So the Redington Beach, North Redington Beach, and Indian Shores, who are all the closest, are the ones probably who would also be coming to our dog park if we ended up doing it. I guess I would question, how many dogs do you think would be at the park at any one time? Commissioner Blackburn, do you have any kind of an idea, or how big is the area? What would be the capacity of it, and what would you do if it met the capacity and was in danger of going over capacity?
Chris, if you like, I have your email. I can email you. We had a drone shot of Del Bello, and then just a little Photoshop of a little outline of the area. I'm happy to send that to you. This was just rough, very rough, nothing scientific, just enough to get an idea, but I can send that to you. We can, one of the things would be to have a committee for the dog park itself. And then they would help decide on the rules for the park, and we can limit the number of dogs in the off-leash dog park at any one time. I don't have any idea how many that would be.
Okay, that in itself concerns me, because if you had 128 people that contacted you that are in support of it, I assume that would mean that there are 128 dog owners that would intend to bring their dogs to that dog park. Certainly not all at one time, but
right.
That concerns me. If you think that if what you've gotten is that much support for it, is that space really going to be able to accommodate those people well, they're animals? And what kind of problem is that going to cause if there's a greater want for that than there is space available? That seems to be a very, very
I'm
big
sorry
problem.
to interrupt, but the 3 minutes are up.
Okay.
Thank you. That's okay. Thank you.
The 128 people were not necessarily, does not mean that they necessarily own dogs.
Okay, we have a Carla Sullivan. I will unmute you, Carla. Please unmute yourself. State your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes. Carla Sullivan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Carla Sullivan. I'm an owner of Redington Tower 111A. I don't live down there yet, but I plan to retire down there in the hopefully near future, within a year or so. I absolutely would not have bought a condo in that building had there been a dog park there when I viewed it. I looked at a couple condos up the street near the bird sanctuary and opted out of them for the same reason. Just the noise, the dirt, whatever. But one thing that I haven't heard, and it's going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, is I haven't heard anyone say is, I like to sit over in the park or even sit on my front balcony and look at the wildlife that's around the park. That certainly isn't going to be hanging around there if there's yapping dogs there. I see osprey, I see heron, I see the pelicans are over there. In fact, online, I see a photo from January 2020 of an osprey nest on a wood structure there. So that's not something anyone else brought up. Maybe there's so much open space down there, it's not a concern for anyone, but I would certainly miss that, because I'm sure that will go away if a dog park is put in there. And that's all I have to say, so.
Thank you, Carla.
That was brought up in some of the comments that people sent about the wildlife and about the osprey. And Barry Taylor is he actually works with that type of bird with raptors through the local parks department. And he assures us that this is not an issue it's not going to drive up the ospreys or other wildlife.
I would hope. Right. Thank you. Yeah.
You, Carla. Okay, we have two that have already spoken. I'm not sure if you would want me to allow them to speak again. Commission?
Yeah, up to you guys.
Yeah, I would say. why
It's the
not?
same thing we've already heard. I mean, if it's the exact same things that we've continued to hear for the past,
Okay,
hour.
there's one
plus.
that has not spoke, Sheila O'Rourke. I'm going to allow you to talk. And then that will be our last comment. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Sheila. Where'd you go?
She's there. She's there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm a retired military person, CBR officer, and the primary concern
Is this Sheila?
of being a person in authority
Sir, excuse me
and
one second.
safety.
Is your name Sheila?
No, he's my husband. He's speaking on my behalf.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Sheila.
Right, I own 17.
Okay, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure.
1505.
Okay, go ahead.
But I'm a retired military person, CBR officer, chemical, biological, radiation. You sacrificed your life for the safety and healthy concerns of people. Your administration. We were half the population of the citizens of Redington.
You are breaking up, sir. They're not getting your full comments. You're breaking up. Are you still there, Sheila?
I'll take it inside.
I'm there.
Okay, go ahead.
But in the military, we sacrificed our life for the safety and health concerns of people. And in Redington Shores here in these condominiums, we cannot tolerate people bringing viruses from across the street to our environment, because we have a pool and you pick this stuff up on your shoes and you walk in the area and the people with barefoot will bring it into the pool. It is totally intolerant of the health concerns. You do not consider the convenience of pleasure for people. You consider the health and safety concerns above and beyond any pleasure that may be acceptable. But we cannot tolerate these people that walk across there and carry this virus or whatever a dog's leptospirosis, spironolactosis, all of these viruses that may bring back to your shoes, to carry it to your pool. We cannot tolerate that. And we are 1/4 of the population of Redington Shores. We have over 350 residential units, and they are across the street. And we cannot tolerate this invasion of other people's desires. And money, a lot of money has been spent. There's a boat, a dock, there's a fishing dock, there's a
Mr. O'Rourke, I'm sorry, your 3 minutes is up, so I will have to ask you, mute you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
This is Barry Taylor. Can I finish my 3 minutes?
Go ahead.
A couple of comments. One is I wanted to point out that I was the one that did the survey. It was not the commissioner, and that I take responsibility for it, that I solicited in that both positive and negative comments. I did not seek out only positive people. I did not contact many people in the towers because I couldn't get in. It's private property, it's gated community, but we did get a lot of input from the towers. Another thing there, one of the concerns is a lot about poop. With cleanup stations, with bags presented, with waste disposal, that we actually believe the dog messes will go down when people have a proper way to get rid of them. It also will reduce the amount of dog traffic at Constitution Park and other places around there when they have a legal, legitimate place to go to. So places that the dogs are going now will not be used as extensively. We believe that they'll use the new legal park more extensively where there are cleanup stations.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Okay, we have a Carla Sullivan. Carla, if you will unmute yourself, please state your name and your address, and you will have 3 minutes.
We already spoke, I believe.
Oh,
Can you mute Chris Cook, please?
okay, hold on. Carla spoke, Barry spoke,
Chris spoke.
Gas X or Gax
They spoke.
spoke, Lisa Foster. Okay, Lisa, go ahead. You'll have 3 minutes. You'll have to unmute yourself, Lisa.
Oh, I see it. Hi, everybody. Thank you all for entertaining this idea of making it a little bit more dog friendly here in town. You know, I've heard a lot of pros and cons for this, and I'm not going to pick a side right now, but I think this probably needs to get a little more detailed plan to address Lisa's comment about the liability. That is a valid concern, and you know, the town would have to look into insurance for that. I would also say, you know, if it is that much of a concern, you could treat it like parking and do passes for a fee, and that would help offset some of the maintenance fees. Mrs. DeWitt, I'm very, very sorry about your dog. That is absolutely horrible. All right, fine, I'll tell you my position. I am an advocate of dogs, and I would be an advocate of either a dog park or just making the parks in general open to having dogs in them if there was some sort of liability insurance that it didn't land on the town, of course, with a leash, with poop stations, et cetera, to make sure that it stayed clean. There are obviously a lot of concerns from the folks up in the towers. When we were walking our dogs in the other side of town, 176 has a couple of great little areas, little itty bitty, like miniature pocket parks where you can walk your dog that don't say no dogs, and they have poop stations, and it's very clean over there. We didn't see any poop over there at all. I mean, poop happens, so not everybody's gonna clean up their poop, but you walk down Gulf Boulevard and sometimes you see baby diapers too. I mean, you can't control people that don't respect the environment. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks.
Okay, so we have Chris Kusk already spoke. So that's it. There's no other attendees.
And Paulie Shoes is gone.
He's gone. Haven't seen
Okay.
Paulie.
All right, so I guess that concludes this portion, and we're done talking about this for the evening.
So this is going back to the Parks and Rec Department.
Okay.
And we still have 32 attendees on, so very good. Very good on that. Good actions.
Okay, under miscellaneous, we just have the next regular meeting is Wednesday, April 14th, 2021 at 6 p.m. And the next workshop meeting will be Wednesday, April 28th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Good evening. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for joining us.